But let's start with Nikola Milutinov. So it was a hell of a roller coaster. The guy was supposed to go to Milan. Well, Milan was super confident that he gonna sign there. Basically, everything was set, and the last thing remaining was his signature on the contract. But then, I'm not surprised it's Greece. A lot of stuff happens. First of all, Mustafa Fall gets injured. Then Milutinov plays a huge role in the last two Greek final games, and they win the championship. So everyone is super happy, extremely happy. Then, this is the most mysterious part to me. Somehow, Panathinaikos comes with a 3-year, $9 million offer. And from what I heard by my colleagues in Greece, this was shared stuff coming from Panathinaikos side. Let's go, guys, make it public. And the same day, Olympiacos, I don't know, I'm just guessing, maybe they don't want another Kostas Lukas story where they're losing the player for their rivals. They increase the offer, and suddenly, instead of packing for Milan, he's remaining in Olympiacos, signing a 2+1 deal. I saw that the total contract value is from 6.5 to 7 million euros, according to various Greek media outlets. So, I don't know. What are your reactions? What do you think about this move? Is it a good deal? Is it a bad move?
First of all, when you mentioned that Pau made this offer and they wanted to share this info publicly, I was kind of like, is this just one of those things when Pau makes an offer just to increase the price for Olympiacos or vice versa? I'm pretty sure it happens both ways. But was this also a real thing in this scenario? Because I'm not sure. But it looked strange to me that Pau made this offer to Milutinov. But from Olympiacos' point of view, I think, depending on how much he's getting next year's, if it's 2.2,
2.3.
2.3, it's a lot of money because
his last contract was around 1.7, 1.8.
That is just crazy. But I mean, again, the market is so inflated. And although I like the player, one thing is clear, Nikola Milutinov will not play the entire season because he hasn't in the last 5 years. I looked at the games played and the total games for his team in the last 5 years. And Olympiacos, in 2 years, he played 61% of games, 94 out of 155. And in Moscow, he played 121 games out of 184, 66% total, 63% games played in the last 5 years. And he's not getting any younger, so he will be 31, I think, this year. So what makes you believe he plays the entire season? So that basically means that Olympiacos signed a great player, for 2.3 million, but you need a really good another player in that position for a similar amount of money, maybe a little bit less, but you really need a great player because 1/3 of the season Milutinov is not going to be there if we are just looking at history. So
yeah,
it's a steep price, but I see his value. He's post-up threat, pick and roll threat. Big body near the rim, offensive rebounds, one of the best guys in the entire league. So he knows the game. He's always, playing, I think, even better in the playoffs than in the regular season. So I can understand why they are going to sign him, but that's a big price to pay, and they need another really great guy in the same position because Mustafa Fall is out not for 3 weeks. He's missing 10 to 12 months. So isn't that the same injury as Keenan Evans had?
I don't know the details.
Okay, but it's a serious injury, so we can rule out Mustafa Fall for the next season. So you need another two guys in this position.
100%. You literally just said all the talking points I had, so you left nothing to say except for one thing that I feel like also when I look at Milutinov from back in his prime, let's call it, from when he was a bit more healthy, or when he was with the Moscow CSKA, for example. I think I used to see him much more in the post-up situations or just dominating inside offensively. And in Bartzoka's system, it's not as evident. It's not as used. And I feel like okay, it's a 3-year commitment with the club. You never know who's going to be at the wheel in 3 years or maybe even next year. Who knows? At some point, the system can change and maybe use Milutinov better. And as you said, when healthy, that guy is, one of the best centers in the EuroLeague. But will he stay healthy? That's the issue.
The point you made about the post-up opportunities is actually a very important point, because it's not a secret that Milutinov didn't have a good relationship with Coach Bartzokas. You could see it on Twitter from those videos and those bench reactions, what happened between them. And I heard that this thing of how he was utilized in Bartzokas' system, and specifically not getting feeded enough with the ball inside the paint, was a big issue. But now, since Fall is out and Olympiacos is basically already 4 million into the payroll for the next season for 2 centers and only one is playing, you can expect that he's not going to have kind of a similar top-level center next to him. And then you can expect that he's going to play a little bit more, not 19 minutes per game, but let's say 23, 24, or 25. And the reason he stayed is also connected to the fact that Coach Bartzokas might be, let's say, might have intentions to use him more, which means not just pick and roll situations, but also post-up situations. So what you can expect from this deal, Milutinov to be more aggressive, or let's say better utilized inside the paint, especially when the opponents are switching everything and you have a mismatch inside the paint. So I also don't like the number. Like, from the number standpoint, to me, it doesn't make sense. It's basically a 20% increase in his contract. And you cannot say that Milutinov was superb in those 2 years with Olympiacos or before he signed.
He had a couple of moments. He had a couple of games where he changed the momentum of the game with his offensive rebounding. And that's all you remember about Milutinov. There's no consistency. And partially because you're not being fed the balls in the post where he's feeling most comfortable or used to feel most comfortable. But at the same time, there's just no consistency because you get an injury every other month. And then you're out for 5 games, then you're out for 5 months or so. That happened last season, this season. It just keeps happening.
I would disagree. I would say, like, there was consistency. He was always solid, but not top 3 center in the EuroLeague. Now he's getting paid as he's going to tie those top 3 centers. He was consistent in being efficient in under 20 minutes of action, but it's not a top 3 contract.
But it always
that you're paying.
Took some time for him to get back into shape. Yeah. Then he's dominating until the next injury stops him again.
True.
That's the thing.
True.
It's like I can see the averages, as you mentioned. Like, I can see his averages in the regular season going up to his numbers in the playoffs, because like in the EuroLeague playoffs this year, 20 minutes per game, 8 points, 5.5 rebounds, 55 field goal percentage. Greek League finals, 23 minutes per game, almost 8 points, almost 6 rebounds. 3 out of those are offensive rebounds, 56% field goal, and almost 2 assists as well. Like, a lot of handoffs were played with him, and that was an efficient offense, because he can dive to the rim pretty fast, and that was working. But I imagine that you need an athletic center next to him, and they didn't really have, because they relied on him or Mustafa Fall in these last 2 years. Moses Wright was barely playing and had a long injury this season. So I was like, in Milano, he makes perfect sense. You have Josh Nebo next to him, and you have Nikola Milutinov, 2 completely different type of players. Okay, no, none of these 2 guys can shoot from outside, but they cover the different needs that a team in the EuroLeague actually needs. So now, what is there going to be their second signing in that position? Because they definitely need someone. Moses Wright is gone. Mustafa Fall will not play the next year, and they need to hit the center market, and it has to be a pretty solid guy.
There are no solid guys on the market, and actually that's the reason why Olympiacos had to pay him that much.
Overpay him.
Yeah,
you can say that.
I mean, because again, it's like, if we observe it from the normal market standpoint, they just overpaid him, and like, they made a huge commitment for the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, you're talking about huge money. But we must take two things in consideration. First of all, the market is changing. Now everyone is overpaying. Probably it's the matter of the percentages, 20%, 30%, 10%. Everybody gonna overpay. So we cannot kind of, analyze this money based on our, let's say, yesterday's market situation. It's over. It's different. Now we have to wait a little bit to see how the market will settle in. Because again, Milutinov now is basically top free paid player behind only Tavares and Lazor. But at the same time, if you're losing him, I mean, and just like there are some teams that's okay. Money matters for like mid-level teams. They count every 100,000 euros. But Olympiacos is coming from the top shelf, where basically you spend as much money as you need to make a move. And this was a specific situation because if you're not signing Milutinov, the other top remaining free agent centers are Devin Booker, Wayne Gabriel, Rivero, Serge Ibaka, Kem Birch, Donatas Matejūnas. Like, he's not free agent, but he probably gonna change teams. Brian Dunstan, Sertac Shanli. I mean...
Is Dante Hall? Like, Dante Hall would make a lot of sense. Now.
Dante Hall, he's under the contract, if I remember well, but he might change teams as well. But, I mean, Dante Hall is not your first option, that's for sure.
That's a big contract, or why? You mean just generally, you don't like it as a player?
Who?
No, as a first option.
Oh I don't. Not as the first
for Olympiacos. I mean,
next to Milutinov. Next to Milutinov is okay.
So that's why they had to spend all this money for Nikola Milutinov.
And that's why Pau maybe also made an offer. Like they knew that Oli needs this guy.
But Donatas, you mentioned Milutinov's name when we were talking to those Pau fans. You said maybe Milutinov, and they were like, some of them liked the idea.
A lot of them.
So why did you offer that? Did you hear something about Milutinov?
No, I think that some of those fans actually they brought the name by themselves. Like which rival player you would sign, and there a lot of Greeks, Panathinaikos fans, were saying, "Oh, Milutinov, we like him, we respect him," and things like that. So
I mean, when there is no Lazor, he's the best out of all those power centers.
But this offer from Panathinaikos situation was mysterious to me because, like, if I'm Panathinaikos and you have to choose. Do you want Olympiacos to overpay, which makes sense, but like maybe you would be willing Olympiacos to let him walk away to Milan, and like what Olympiacos do then if he was about to sign in Milan? So I'm not sure, in which case you're winning more by making Olympiacos overpay or actually, just watching him going to Milan.
Or if he signs with you, you're strengthening your own roster and you're weakening.
Yeah, but that would have been crazy.
Opponent.
Like you pay him basically more than Lazor. I mean, how?
Since when Panathinaikos care about money in the last years?
Again, that comes back to my point. You pay as much as you need just to make the move, and you don't care about anything, about the market, any calculations, nothing.
Well, salary cap? What salary cap?
Funny thing about the
what
salary
is the
cap.
Salary cap, man?
You remember there was this, it was officially established that there's going to be like two players exceeding the, that's going to be excluded out of the payroll, like franchise players.
Top two paid players.
Exactly. I heard that when some teams made calculations, suddenly the conversation started in the EuroLeague among the shareholders that we need to change the rule. Let's make it to free, because a lot of teams noticed that they're gonna have to go very deep into the luxury tax because of the contracts that they have. So now probably there's gonna be a free players excluded from the payroll.
Mafia again.
So why do we even need a salary cap if we're just going to change it? Well, maybe next season let's try 4 franchise players. Well, let's maybe do a starting 5.
It's a franchise. Let's do a franchise
starting lineup.
The whole team. Franchise. Actually, fuck the luxury tax.
Yeah.
Let's be traditional.
The rich just want to get richer and win more titles.
Don't like it, you leave it. Leave the league.
So which...
Go to NBA Europe.
Man, this guy. Which center do you see as the best fit next to Milutinov?
You mentioned Hall? Like Dante Hall, out of those options.
I like
it. But he's probably not going to be that cheap. I mean, maybe Kem Birch if he's...
Nobody's cheap. Nowadays, nobody's cheap. Why you bring inner Ataman?
I don't know.
Why today?
I just watched him.
Oh, you watched too much of Ataman during
What
your
about
breakdown.
Dano Turo?
He's on the move to Hapoel Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
He's over 2 million
confirmed?
player. Like
Yeah.
he's not a backup.
Confirmed?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna put some grades on those guys. That's for sure.
Brother just chose another 2 million player
Yeah.
as a backup in
mean-
Olympiacos.
Question that I had: do you pay you have to choose Dana Turu or Nikola Milutinov for the same amount, 2.3 million?
Milutinov.
For 3 years, I would go with
3
the
years.
Turo because why not? I mean, it's a younger player, an investment. You investing in a 30-year-old Milutinov for 3 years. In 3 years, he's gonna be who knows in what shape. Maybe now he's gonna be
30 freeze.
healthy, but I would still go for a Turo. He's shown the potential. I mean,
There are.
I like
the
Oturu
price
a lot.
is the same. The price is the same. You said.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I actually see more sense in paying 2.3 to Oturu for this long-term deal than Milutinov.
There are just certain things that I've heard that makes me want to say Milutinov, and that's it.
Okay, keep them to yourself, of course.